Hi, I'm Representative Muffy Davis with the Idaho State Legislative Update for the week of February 3rd to February 7th, our fifth week in session for 2020. And it was an interesting week in the Idaho State Legislature. The Idaho House, the House Education Committee had a busy week. They ended up not passing our educational rules, standards for math, science, English language arts, as well as our standards for teacher certifications. They were not passed out of the House Education Committee. These are the rules that are set. Usually, remember that you heard the whole controversy that went on, and it took about 3 years to get our science standards passed because they mentioned climate change in them. Well, since the legislature went home last year without reauthorizing all our rules, they became temporary again. And this year that meant that every rule was up for review again. The Education Committee has been looking at those rules for most of the session so far, and this week, after numerous testimonies that they had heard for the past couple of weeks, they actually voted on those and decided not to pass or adopt those rules. Therefore, unless the Senate agrees to pass the rules, and that's the good thing about rules currently, just one side, one body, either the House or the Senate, has to agree and pass those rules as they are. If both sides don't pass them, then they fail. But if one side does pass them, then they can go back into effect. So we have the hopes are all set on the Senate Education Committee. So if you would like to write your Senate Education Committee members, and please urge them to adopt and pass the educational math, science, and English language arts rules, adopt those rules, as well as the teacher certification standards. Please, I will make sure we had those email addresses below on my Facebook postings. On the House side, we had an interesting week in health and welfare in that we got some good bills passed. They actually passed out of the House floor, one being the pharmacy benefit manager rule. And that is going to help our independent pharmacies with some challenges that they've had. Pharmacy benefit managers are the interim, the middleman kind of between the insurance companies and the actual pharmacies, and they dictate prices for drugs and different things. And this is it's a very complex rule. Pharmacy benefit managers have been very complex. This law hopes to add transparency. We currently don't even know how many pharmacy benefit managers there are working in the state of Idaho, so they all have to register, so we will know how many are working, but it also adds some transparency and some protection for our pharmacists so that those benefit managers can't tell them that they will pay them one price and then go back a few months later and decide that they're going to pay them a different price, which we have heard many times happens, and it's actually below the pharmacist's price of the actual medication. So that is passed out of the Senate, or out of the House, is going to the Senate, so look for that. We had a great concurrent resolution came from the Senate, which passed unanimously out of the Senate and unanimously out of the House, and that is Senate Concurrent Resolution 118, and that is to recognize Women's Day in Idaho every year on March 14th. It was honoring all of the exceptional women that have, women leaders that have come before, and hopefully to empower. And this year, 2020, 100 years since the passage of the 19th Amendment, giving women the right to vote, that was a really exciting concurrent resolution, and everyone's looking forward to that celebration. March 14th this year, as well as every year, will be Idaho Women's Day. So look for that. We have a better hands-free driving bill, which I think I've mentioned before, where was one that was introduced in our transportation committee on the House side. But there is now a better one that is passing through the Senate. That's Senate Bill 1250. Has better definitions for exactly what distracted driving is, and hopefully that will pass out of the Senate Transportation and out of the Senate, and we will get to see that bill over in the House. And I believe it's a better bill. Even though it does preempt all of our local ordinances, it has a better definition and a better explanation for exactly what distracted driving might be instead of multiple different possibilities. As well, the daylight savings bill that I had been talking for a couple weeks about on the House side has been pulled and sent back to committee, so we won't even be voting on that bill. And it wasn't a great bill because it didn't take into account that Idaho does have 2 different time zones. Well, there is another daylight savings bill over in the Senate. It is a much better bill. It actually only deals with northern Idaho, but what it says is that if Washington State chooses to stay on daylight savings time all the time, that northern Idaho, which is on the same time zone as Washington currently, would stay on daylight savings times year round as well. So that's Senate Bill 1267 if you're interested to go look that up. But other than that, we are having our town halls this weekend, Saturday, Friday. Tonight, we are going to have one in Ketchum. And then Saturday, we will be in Hailey at 8 o'clock, and then down in Shoshone at 10:30. And then at 12 o'clock, we will be in Gooding. And at, I believe, 2:30 or 3, we will be in Hagerman. So you can find that information. I will put it again on our Facebook page as well, exactly where we're going to be. We would love to see you. If you have questions about what's going on at the legislature this year, please come and talk to us about what your concerns are. And if you just want to hear more detail of things that are going on, please join us and we will update you on everything. Thanks so much. And again, I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to coming back to you next week and filling you in on all the other happenings that go on for this next week. Take care.